So, you may remember this as being one of the biggest trades we have seen in the NHL this year. On June 27th, 2023, we saw ourselves the Winnipeg Jets trade away center Pierre-Luc Dubois to the LA Kings in exchange for a package that included Iix, Gabe Vilardi, Rasmus Kupari, and a second-round pick. I can't highlight it because this is an image, but you get what I mean. You can see it all on the screen here. Pierre-Luc Dubois was a guy that had such a weird sort of attitude and personality with the way he was always requesting trades out of his own team. He didn't want to re-sign in Winnipeg long term, and as a guy who was producing like he was, I mean, he was a multi-60-point guy with the Winnipeg Jets, which is definitely not bad. There was ample reason for teams to go out there and inquire about his services. He's a big dude, 6'3", two-way center, defensively minded, left-handed guy, taken third overall by the Blue Jackets back in the 2016 draft. And because he was on his way out, it was very clear he was on his way out. He did not want to stay in Winnipeg. He ended up going to the LA Kings and signing a big deal. $8.5 million a year per season until the end of 2031, which is crazy. Huge dollar amount right there. It's not like he wouldn't have gotten that money elsewhere, it's just he didn't want to particularly stay with the Jets. There were a bunch of rumors about him going to Montreal, but once he opened the door to other teams, this is when he got traded to LA and the Canadiens lost all the leverage they had in those contract talks. But either way, PLD was seen as the prize. There's a reason he was traded for 4 individual assets. But today in this video, what I wanted to do was talk about how this trade has been seen as a huge loss in the eyes of many fans analyzing the LA Kings' point of view. Because Pierre-Luc Dubois is one guy, getting sent away for 4 different assets, all of whom have been playing very well. Let's just go over PLD in his season this year first, before we dive into all the other numbers. Pierre-Luc Dubois so far for the Kings has 12 points in 29 games played. 34 points in 82 games played is his projection, which would be the worst season he has had points per game-wise since, what? His rookie year? No, he's never been this bad before. My goodness. Even the year where he only had, 21 points, he did so in 46 games played, so the points per game number was a lot better than what he is on pace for right now, which is 34 points in 82. He's never had a season where he's been this unproductive. Now, you could go out there and read some of the responses from Kings fans. We're going to do that in this video as it goes on. I got a great Reddit thread that has some insight as to this entire situation, but PLD is producing at a significantly lower rate than what he had last year. He's on pace for half the amount of points. And it gets even crazier when you acknowledge that some of the guys on the Jets are doing much better than Pierre-Luc Dubois did. This tweet was posted 2 days ago. Every morning is a good morning when Gabe Vilardi is on your team instead of Pierre-Luc Dubois. Because Gabe Vilardi, at the time of this tweet's publication, had 13 points in 13 games played. Now, it's actually gotten a bit better than that. Vilardi is at a total of 15 points in 14 games now, because he had the 2-point night last night. We had talked about this in the Vancouver Canucks Got a Gift video, but the Winnipeg Jets beat the Boston Bruins, and Gabe Vilardi looked like a beast. The guy had 41 points in 63 games played last year, was always battling injuries, was up and down, was only really in the NHL full-time last season. The other years he had spent significant time away. But this season he's a point-per-game guy, on pace for 69 points in 64 games played. Sure, he was injured a bunch this year too, but he's doing very, very well. Gabe Vilardi has gone out here and has arguably been a better player than what Pierre-Luc Dubois has shown off this year. And to make things even worse, you've got Iix, oh boy, I messed that up big time. Alex Iafallo also doing well. This guy's at 15 points in 32 games played, on pace for 39 points over an 82-game season. Sure, his point production as of late has not been great. He's got 2 points in his last 10 games. Not amazing. But when you acknowledge that Alex Iafallo is literally outproducing Pierre-Luc Dubois, it kind of gets a little bit nuts. I mean, Iafallo, this is a guy who's playing more so as a defensively minded, shutdown winger type of role. Alex Iafallo is not a center. He's a winger. He's a defensively minded, responsible two-way winger that mostly focuses on defense. So the fact that he's already outproducing PLD is nuts. He's not even a center. He doesn't get those minutes down the middle like Vilardi and Pierre-Luc Dubois do. So for Iafallo to being as good as he's been right now too, that kind of seals the deal, puts the nail in the coffin. And then, of course, you have the other asset that was included in this trade. Rasmus Kupari isn't really doing the best. I mean, the guy has, 1 point, I think? Yeah, in 15 games played. Not amazing, but for Kupari, I mean, he's a young guy. He's still got some room to grow. 23 years old. It's not really like he needs to be too amazing right now. And then, of course, you have the second-round pick on top of that in which will be used in next year's draft. But for Pierre-Luc Dubois to literally being outscored by both Iafallo and Vilardi, it makes things really interesting when analyzing where things went since this trade. There was a Reddit post made earlier this morning by, who is this made by? TJ Gibson. Vilardi, who has 14 points in 14 games, and Iafallo, who has 15 points in 32 games, each have more points than Dubois, 12 points in 29 games. Reminder that the full trade was Vilardi, Iafallo, Kupari, and a 2024 second for Dubois. He's extremely talented, and I'm sure he'll figure it out, but this has definitely been a rough start. What I wanted to do in this video was read some of the comments because there are some really good replies from Kings fans that are trying to assess what's going on and trying to explain why everything's going down the way it is. But first, of course, a meme comment from a Canadiens fan. 200 IQ for Dubois to play his way out of LA, and now the Habs will get him at 50% retained. I don't know if you guys want another former Blue Jacket who sucks. And of course, they're referring to Josh Anderson. That's just kind of a joke. Anderson might not be the greatest, but he turns into prime Gretzky every game against you guys, which makes it worth it on that basis alone. Yeah, that's really, that's kind of funny. Why would anyone want Pierre-Luc Dubois at this point? The guy has whined his way out of 2 cities already. Make it 3. You gotta remember, Pierre-Luc Dubois whined his way out of his QMJHL squad as well, which was really bad because he ended up tanking his trade value in that final season with the Cape Breton Screaming Eagles. He pretty much whined his way out of this team. He whined his way out of Columbus. He whined his way out of Winnipeg. It's been 3 teams in a row now. I mean, I guess he's good in LA. We had made the videos talking about how he's totally fine and he likes being in LA and he has learned from his past and that he's grown and everything, but still, now he's playing worse. So this entire thing is tainted even more. There's a debate that goes on in the comments as to whether or not the same could be said for Adam Fox, drafted by Calgary, but said he'd only sign with the Rangers, traded to Carolina, and was like, no, Rangers. And what's worse is the Rangers knew this, so in the end he only had to give a second-round pick for the perennial Norris Trophy candidate. That was an entirely other can of worms, but the problem with that comparison is that Adam Fox is a legitimately amazing player. He's one of the best defensemen in the NHL. PLD does not have that same level of star power at all. So when it comes to the way everything went down, I mean, look, there are some Jets fans that are defending it. I'm happy with the trade, but respectfully, I thought he played well here and enjoyed his stint in Winnipeg. Dubois never complained about the city or the team. He was upfront about not signing an extension, so it gave the team options. And I know people will say he dogged it, but I thought he played hard when he was here. Non-existent in the playoffs both times he was in the playoffs with us. Right now he's coasting off the one big playoff with CBJ in the first half of 22-23 to show what he could be, but he has no ability to be that player game to game. So while Jets fans are going out there and talking about Dubois' stint in Winnipeg, there is some sort of a dichotomy between the perspectives that are present here. Oh yeah, he actually was alright. Oh, but he was not really great in the playoffs and he didn't really show off too well when the games mattered. Now here's the explanation as to Vilardi. He's getting the opportunity to play with Scheifele and Ehlers. It would be unlikely he would get the same quality line mates in LA. The injury to Kyle Connor left an open position, and Vilardi is filling it up. There's a conversation about Iafallo. He's been very underrated. He has only 2 points in his last 17 games. Had a great start, but has been very mediocre as of the past month. He's dropped down the lines a lot, though, as we've gotten healthy, and not a ton of power play time. Also, scoring points has never really been his role. He's a defensively minded winger, so there's some good value here out of Iafallo. There then is a conversation by Kings fans talking about the way Dubois is being used and why he hasn't really been producing. He's mostly been in the third line spot. Second line to start the season was Philippe Deneau, Trevor Moore, and Kaliev. The third line was Dubois, Laferriere, and Fiala. Fiala eventually got swapped with Kaliev, but Dubois has been 3C since the start, which is kind of nuts when you consider the guy's making $8.5 million a year. just to be placed in the third center position. At the end of the day, this trade, if you're looking at it mano-y-mano, asset to asset, I mean, it's not mano-y-mano, there's no 1-1, it's 4-1, 4 different assets to 1. Things look pretty bad from the LA point of view, but Kings fans seem to be alright with it. They seem to be optimistic for the future. But for Winnipeg Jets fans, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, how good Gabe Vilardi has been, and how both him and Iafallo are outproducing Pierre-Luc Dubois this season. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.